Let's catch up with the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. That has a nice ring to it, doesn't it? Super Bowl champion Chiefs. Hey, we're just a few days away from the beginning of a busy period of free agent movement, franchise tagging, and this week NFL players are voting on the collective bargaining agreement. We cover all of these topics on SportsBeat KC, the Star's daily sports podcast, with Chiefs beat writer Sam McDowell. It's Tuesday, March 10th, and I'm Blair Kirchhoff. After a break, we talk Kansas State and Big 12 tournament with Kellis Robinett. The Wildcats finished dead last in the conference standing, but they're coming off their most impressive victory of the season, a walloping of Iowa State. Xavier Sneed scored a career-best 31 in that game. Does this give the Wildcats momentum heading into their tournament opener against TCU on Wednesday? Kellis breaks it down. But first, here's Sam McDowell on the Chiefs. Where's Herbie?
I don't know. Off in Fort Leavenworth, so he's a plane ride away.
Holding down the fort. No, Herbie's not here today. He's out writing, reporting on all things Chiefs and NFL. But Sam is here, who's doing the same thing, only doing it from the office, which allowed him to come into the studio, the SportsBeat KC podcast studio, to talk some Chiefs. Sam, let's just get right to it. I think the big story everybody's talking about in Chiefs Kingdom is Mahomes Magic Crunch off the shelves in supermarkets.
Which our Pete Gradoff is all over.
He is all over it.
First and only to report it, I think.
What a fad that was, the Chiefs Magic.
I never had it, did you?
No, I didn't. Was it a Frosted Flakes kind of thing or
yeah.
something? But no. You know, there were a couple of things. Before we get into what's coming up for the Chiefs, I want to talk about a couple of things that we have seen on social media. You know, it's difficult to talk to players now. Unless they're making a public appearance, There's no team availability for these players, so you kind of have to find out what's going on in their lives through social media. And some are very willing to share what they're doing on social media. And one of them, Sammy Watkins.
Yeah.
You know, tweeted.
I actually went to a public appearance of his on Saturday. He was having an autograph session, but I was told he was not available by his people there.
Not available to talk about his apparent infatuation with the Houston Texans. Tweeted a picture of himself in a Texans.
I think he retweeted one.
Yeah, retweeted with playing with his old Clemson buddies, DeAndre Hopkins and Deshaun Watson. What are we going to make of that? Is he not destined to be here? Does he understand the financial situation?
Yeah. I think the most likely scenario is that he's not in Kansas City next year. I mean, he's certainly, we know for sure, not under this contract. He's not going to be in Kansas City. I mean, he's got the largest cap hit of any wide receiver in the NFL next year at $21 million. And you can save $14 million by cutting him, and they're a cap-strained team right now. So they have reached out to his representation. We know they did that at the Combine to try and find some middle ground there, so they didn't have to release him. They like Sammy Watkins. They'd like to have him back. But I'm not sure how much room Sammy Watkins and his team are gonna budge on what he's currently owed.
And it seems like he realizes it.
I think so too. I mean, I think obviously this. Andy Reid said it at the Combine. This team is going to change next year. This is part of the business. A lot of people don't like it because, especially in this locker room, I mean, we were in the locker room every day. It's a locker room that genuinely, I think, gets along and likes one another. Who doesn't want to play on a team that just won a Super Bowl for Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes, especially when you're a wide receiver? But I think especially with wanting another step out of McCole Hardman, that Sammy Watkins' spot on the roster, I think, is probably pretty tenuous right now.
I don't want to see him if I'm a Chiefs fan, I don't want to see him with the Texans.
No kidding.
That's a contender. Yeah. Last week, Sam Mellinger and I were going over the Chiefs' schedule, and there are a lot of teams on the Chiefs' schedule for 2020. We know the opponents, we just don't know the dates yet, right? Yeah. But a lot of teams with potentially a new quarterback, not necessarily a rookie, but maybe a free agent, but at least half of their opponents, but one of them that won't have that is the Houston Texans. team that they beat in the playoffs this year, and one that was set up for success.
Yeah, I mean, I actually, we know that last week the Royals moved out that September 10th date to potentially open. The Chiefs were playing on opening night. A lot of people just assume maybe because the Chiefs play the Patriots at home. So they're thinking maybe that's who that Thursday night opponent's going to be. I think the Texans make a lot of sense because I think that's going to be the new age rivalry, I think, in the AFC. Is going to be with the Texans and the Ravens. But I think Deshaun Watson has more staying power than Lamar Jackson does. So I just think that would be a great matchup. But we're talking about a guy that maybe could switch sides of that. I mean, that offers even more intrigue to that matchup.
Another note that I saw on social media last week, I was scrolling through the Twitter and saw Tyrann Mathieu tweet courting Chris Harris. All sorts of local angles to this one.
Us talking to Tyrann Mathieu, I think he would be a great recruiter. I think he actually, in a serious note, wants to get into that whenever he's done playing. I think he's showed some interest in potentially being on a college staff someday. We know that he could recruit our own Vahe to do anything he wants.
Yes, we do know that.
But yeah, I think that this day and age in social media, it's just so different because you do have players that are gonna they're friends with other guys in the league. They want to play together, and like we already have talked about. I mean, especially on this team. I mean, it's going to be a good locker room to join. Maybe you can get some guys in here cheaper than some other teams might have to pay him.
Chris Harris has a little, got some wear on the tires.
Yeah, and I don't think his contract would make. I mean, he's going to have plenty of suitors to where I think you're going to have to pay him more than what the Chiefs can probably afford to pay a second cornerback right now. He also wants to play slot corner. And one of the reasons Tyrann Mathieu was so good in the last 8-9 games of the season for the Chiefs, not that he wasn't good all season, but especially in that stretch, so he's playing a lot at the line of scrimmage, and that's where he prefers to play. He was playing a lot of that slot corner for him. So I don't know that fit makes a ton of sense. I think that they need somebody that's going to play on the outside opposite Charvarius Ward, the way that we saw Bashaud Breeland do this year, and maybe it could still be Breeland. I think he's going to at least test the market and see what's out there. Maybe it comes back to make sense with the Chiefs, and I think they'll also look in the draft for that position too.
Juan Thornhill allowed Tyrann Mathieu, gave the Chiefs the luxury of allowing Tyrann Mathieu to roam a little bit.
Absolutely, it's a great point.
So there are some key dates that were in the NFL that in our market kind of can get lost because of postseason college basketball. Mm-hmm. Big 12 tournament is this week. Kansas is the number one ranked team in the country. The NCAA tournament follows that. So there's Selection Sunday. But this is really the beginning of forming the 2020 roster for the Super Bowl champion Chiefs. Take us through what some of the key dates are just over the next couple of weeks in order. What's going to happen NFL roster-wise?
Yeah, so you've got this week on Thursday, you've got the deadline to franchise tag any player, and you can do that with one player. You can also use the transition tag on a player. I don't foresee them doing that. We've already reported, Herbie Teope has reported that they will franchise Chris Jones. That hasn't been made official, so we expect that to happen sometime this week before, I think it's 4 o'clock or maybe it's 4 Eastern deadline on Thursday. Then you've got free agency next week, and it's unlike other sports in free agency because in baseball we see that process drag out. In football, it is a rush of 72 hours. On Monday, you can start negotiating with free agents from other teams. On Wednesday, you can start signing them. So there's that 48-hour window where you're negotiating with players, and the deals are basically in place. They're made official on that Thursday. So next week, we're really, more than any other week of this offseason, going to see the way this roster is going to be shaped, dependent on whether or not the CBA gets passed by Saturday. Because if not, I think teams are going to be hesitant to lock up big numbers with guys without knowing exactly how big that number is going to be against the cap.
You said Saturday for the deadline.
Saturday. They've
that's
moved
changed
it to Saturday.
Yeah,
just today. Since you've been recording other podcasts, they're going to allow the players an extra 2 days to vote on this thing, which I don't know. I think that the owners made a great decision on this CBA by implementing some structures that help out the little guy. because that's the vast majority of the NFL.
The minimum wage,
right,
if you will,
which makes up more than half the roster.
Yeah.
So if you can get that half on your side, and just get it to a vote. I mean, I think the owners made a really smart decision there, and it's going to tick off some of the guys that we've seen be outspoken about, like J.J. Watt, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers. And those are the high-profile guys. Those are the guys with the big followings. So they get the attention when they speak out. But the guys that are these minimum wage guys that are going to get bumped up maybe $100,000 a year when they're only making $500,000, $600,000, $700,000, that is a lot of money to them. That's a big pay increase.
How do you think it's going to go? How do you think the vote will
I think it's going to pass for that reason. I think that the majority is going to be on their side. I think you're going to have enough of those high-priced veteran guys that are thinking about that player, that has the locker right next to him, that knows that this guy's career might only last 3 or 4 years. So all of us out here may say this guy makes $800,000, $900,000. Wow, I'd love to make that kind of money. But you're talking about a 2 or 3 year period that somebody in the NFL might be making that money. You got taxes, agent fees, all sorts of things. It's not the amount that it seems. So $100,000 is a big jump.
You know, one thing that we've talked about in recent weeks when we discussed Chris Jones and the potential of the Chiefs signing him to the deal that he has earned
right.
With his play, and how we think it's not going to be possible for that to happen. One of the points of speculation is if the owners get what they want in the collective bargaining agreement, that the 2021 salary cap could raise to as high as $240 million. Yeah. Now that money would come. The reason it would jump, which would be about a $40 million jump, possibly. But one of the reasons that would happen is if the NFL owners get a 17 or 18 game schedule, so an additional regular season game. The playoffs get expanded, so there's additional revenue from expanded playoffs, and these are some items that veteran players especially aren't very interested in.
Yeah, I think that changes the equation because to me, the reason that the Chris Jones contract would be awfully tough to fit in, and why I agree with Sam Mellinger that the option's probably going to be to tag and trade him, is because it's not because he makes so much more than any other player on the roster. It's purely the percentage of the cap that it eats up. And if that cap is changing by potentially, 15 to 20%, that does alter the equation of maybe being able to fit a Chris Jones number under the cap. Obviously, you'd have to structure it a little bit differently because that jump doesn't come for another year. But, yeah, I think that absolutely could change the equation on Chris Jones.
All right, Sam. Hey, thanks for stopping by, and we'll talk to you and Herbie Tiopi next week when a lot of
Hey, it's Blair. Hey, we have a special subscription offer for SportsBeat KC listeners, unlimited digital access to the Kansas City Star's award-winning sports coverage. Sign up now for 1 year of Sports Pass for access to all the sports news, features, and columns we have to offer. And it's only $30. That's a 40% savings off our regular rate. For your convenience, your subscription will automatically renew after the initial term at $50 unless you tell us to cancel. A lot of subscription services won't tell you that. They'll just sneak it on there. We just told you. Your subscription helps support the sports coverage of kansascity.com and the Kansas City Star. Please visit kansascity.com/SportsBeatKC offer to get this special offer. And as always, thanks for listening.
Kellis Robinett covers the Wildcats, and Kellis, at least Kansas State is coming to the Big 12 tournament on a high note. That may be the least that could be said about the Wildcats. They broke the 10-game losing streak on Saturday, beating Iowa State, and but it's just been a horrible season for Bruce Weber and K-State. But does that win on Saturday at least change their frame of mind a little bit? What are these Wildcats thinking coming into Kansas City this week?
Well, I mean, I think it definitely gives them a jolt of confidence coming here that they probably wouldn't have had otherwise. I mean, the first words out of some players' mouths after the Iowa State game was that, now hopefully we can go win 4 in a row in Kansas City. Obviously, that's quite a statement for a team that hasn't won even back-to-back games since November. And the one win they did just get to snap the streak came against Iowa State, who was missing both Tyrese Halliburton and their starting point guard, and they didn't realize they were going to not have their starting point guard until game time. So K-State definitely caught them at the right moment. I'm sure they would love to just play Iowa State again. That would almost give them a bye into the next round. But TCU is going to be harder. They swept the regular season matchup. So a difficult game for Kansas State. But I will say this is the event the Wildcats have been looking forward to forever. I can say going back as far as, 3 or 4 weeks now, when we were asking players, what is it that you guys are playing for at this point, a lot of them basically just jumped all the way to the Big 12 tournament and said, hey, we've still got that sitting in front of us. If we win that, we can go to the NCAA tournament. So we're not giving in and not giving up until we lose at some point in the postseason. So they're going to give it their all. I don't know if they've got it in to win more than one game, but they're definitely bringing what they have to Kansas City.
Yeah, there is always, conference tournaments. Every Division I conference has one, and when people
the Ivy League.
Yeah, that's right. Well, the Ivy League still now brings 4 teams into. I believe they bring 4 teams into a tournament. So not the whole conference, but
well, they said today they're canceling it, so that's why.
Oh! So you're up on the day's news that I'm not. Okay, very good. Well, theoretically, when people talk about expanding the NCAA tournament, I've always said you really don't need to, because every team has a chance to win the national championship when the postseason begins,
exactly.
And even a team that's 10-21 like Kansas State. But I will say that there have been 23 Big 12 tournaments, and the format has changed over the years, obviously, because it was once a 12-team league and now it's a 10-team league. But no team has ever won 4 games at the Big 12 tournament. So teams have won 3 and have lost in the championship game. There have been teams to do that, but it's a big ask to win 4 straight games in the conference tournament. It has happened in other leagues. It's happened elsewhere where some teams have come off the pace from a double-digit seed or a low seed to win a conference tournament. It just hasn't happened in the Big 12. Hey, so Xavier Sneed was terrific on Saturday with 26 in the first half and 31 for the game, and I kind of been waiting for him to bust out like this all season long. That was good to see. What was his reaction after the game?
Oh, he was happy. You finally got to see him smile for the first time in a few weeks, and I was happy for him. I mean, a guy like him, you're supposed to be neutral with all these things, but it's hard not to have wanted that for him with all the success he had in his first 3 years, to go out with just a miserable senior season. It was cool to at least see him go off on senior day, setting a career high, kissing the power cat at midcourt as he walked off. So, he's had one of the better careers in recent Kansas State basketball history. So a guy like that deserves to go out on a high note, and he got to do it. It was fun to watch him play like that. It did kind of bring up some what ifs, like what if he was that aggressive in other games, but he made it pretty clear early on this was going to be his night. And as soon as he saw his first 3 go down, he was basically just telling his teammates, "Give me the ball and get out of my way." There was even one point where, ultimate heat check, he crossed half court and already had his hands out looking at Cartier-Jada saying, "Give me the dang ball." And, it was cool. 26 points on only, I think, 11 shots in the first half. Incredible efficiency. He was feeling it. The only thing I was kind of disappointed about was that he didn't try to go for like 50 or something in the second half. There was, no downside to trying that, but that just kind of shows the player he is. He's not that flashy. He actually was racking up assists in the second half. So a cool way for him to go out, if nothing else.
For sure. Hey, so you're right that K-State lost both regular season games to TCU. The one at home was a real heartbreaker, wasn't it? That was wasn't that like at the close to the buzzer? It was a 2-point game.
Right, yeah. David Sloan hit a shot that at the time looked like it was going to send things to overtime, but then he actually got scored on by their big center on the other end. So they won by 2 points with a last-second shot, and a lot had to go wrong for Kansas State to lose that game. I believe TCU had a string of like 3 straight miracle threes at the end of the first half to take a big lead, and they hung on. So it's not a insurmountable matchup or anything like that. They played with them twice. Even the game they lost in Fort Worth, they led with 10 minutes to go in the game. So it's a decent enough matchup. I still think they probably would have preferred to play Oklahoma because they seem to match up well with them, and they actually beat them at home this season. But it's a game that'll probably go down to the last couple minutes. Both teams are looking at this the same way. This is their ticket to the NCAA tournament if they want it. So both teams will be playing hard, and yeah, I'm expecting a good one.
Yeah, and TCU is 16-15, so if they won a couple of games, I don't know. I haven't seen any speculation about NIT or CBI, the tournaments that are played that are not the big dance, but, at least extend your season a little bit. So I imagine TCU comes to Kansas City with the mindset of, well, all teams, you have success here, you can play in the postseason. The difference is Kansas State has to win the tournament to get anywhere with its record, and TCU being over 500 overall might have a chance to slip into one of the postseason tournaments. Okay, Kellis. Well, that'll do it, and we will see you in Kansas City very soon.
All right. Thanks, Blair. Look forward to it.
That'll do it for today. Thanks for listening. A tip of the cap to producers Randy Mason, Savannah Smith, Derek Donovan, Beth Welsh, Jeff Rosen, and Chris Fickett. Thanks to Sam McDowell and Kellis Robinett for lending their expertise on today's show. We'll be back on Wednesday with another Sports Beat KC, where we talk sports in Kansas City every day.